Thanks for coming. I'm Alison Moscariello, and this is my new studio. So I'm going to be telling you a few things about my work, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background. I have been painting for, let's just say, several decades. Well, let's just be honest, over 5 decades. And I started out as an artist. I think I always knew I was an artist as a kid, and I had a very creative family. My grandmother was an opening act at the Schubert Theater. She used to play piano and sing in New Haven. And my mom was a frustrated actress who ended up getting married and having a bunch of kids. My great-grandmother was an actress on the Yiddish theater. So I know you came to talk about me, but I have to say this is where I started. These are my origins. Recently, I went to Latvia, speaking of origins, because I had found out that I had some Latvian genes. And not only that, I was accepted to the Mark Rothko Painting Symposium, the 2024, and I was the only American there, which was pretty exciting. We had people from Germany, we had people from, I'm just trying to think, Lithuania, Latvia, all over, India. Anyway, we were painting for 2 weeks. But I'm jumping around because when I'm painting, I kind of lose train of thought because I'm in this crazy mode. Once I have a brush in my hand, I kind of go a little bit cuckoo, because I'm in this zone. And these are some of the new works that I'm doing. Anyway, I grew up in Connecticut. I went to Payer College of Art. And as soon as I could get out of Dodge, I went to New York City. In New York City, it was during the time of AIDS. So a friend of mine and I developed a program called Breaking Out, Breaking Free to unlock and unblock people who had some serious creative blocks. And that was because we had been losing people through AIDS, losing people through natural causes, and we felt that we were blocked creatives. So we decided to create this program, and it was sort of like a boot camp. And it got you to a place where you could create ongoingly without any stops. Where a lot of people will say, oh, well, I can't paint because, I have to wait for the muse. Well, that's all a lot of bull. So what we did was we came up with this program. We worked it out on each one of us. We were guinea pigs. And then we tried it out on test groups in New York City because that's where I was living at the time. And it was quite successful. And I'm very happy to say that the program still is successful. And now I only work one-on-one or in very, very small groups because I'm kind of jealous about my time. I love to create. I like to have my time to myself. But if you're interested, you'll find contact information, and I'm happy to respond to that. Anyway, here we are in my studio, and let's talk about some of the paintings that are up here. I was classically trained, so every so often I do have to go back to the classical mode. Like, for instance, there's a couple of paintings up on the wall here. This piece was done, it's called Stark Winter, and it was done right after I saw the Hopper show in New York. And I came home, and it just happened to be the most gorgeous blue sky. And this house, which is a white house, had these incredible shadows going on. So I had to paint it. And that's what it is. And I just love the house. I love the old New England homes. I'm kind of a sucker for those. And this one is a side shot of the Gedney Farm, which is in New Marlborough. And what I did was, it just looked so beautiful. The winter, it was coming upon us, and actually it was just the first light snow. And I have in the foreground, I decided to paint my dog Raisin, who's a blue heeler, and I miss her very much. And so I said, well, this way I can always see her. And anyway, it just was one of those days that was just absolutely beautiful, crisp, late fall, first beginnings of winter. This piece is from my Territories Blue series. And the Territories Blue series is about what happens when we don't learn from history and we continue to do the same thing. And Territories Blue is about the conflicts between, fighting over land, power, earth, air, water, all of it. And it began after a trip to Europe. When I was there last November, 2023, my husband and I saw a lot of news, and we were seeing what was happening in Gaza and seeing what was happening in Ukraine. And at the same time, we were visiting a lot of ruins. And what I started to see was some geometric patterns that started to emerge and comparing both of them. They had similar formations, and I started doing this series because this was what's happening. This is what the architecture looks like on the ground. This is the archaeological digs. They'll look very much like that. You'll see where people were living, and they were living rather closely together, and especially in these areas in Gaza. And you think to yourself, and in Ukraine, you think to yourself, we've been doing this for thousands of years. Will we ever learn? And the takeaway for that is, I hope that we do learn from our history some point. I have hope in the human race. Sometimes I lose it, but that's what this is about. And ultimately, though, my soul loves to be happy, and the colors come out in a way so that the meanings are sometimes less obvious. And if somebody just looks at the painting and is very happy looking at it, that's also what I want, because I try to transmute the worldly conflicts into something that is visually harmonious that we can live with and also learn from. And that's what this whole series is all about. This piece, I'm going to butcher the French language, is called Printemps. And I think that means springtime. And this piece was it was one of the first pieces in my Abstracted Memories series. And this was because I was remembering, I came in contact with things that I hadn't seen for several decades. When we moved back here from California, my husband and I did that in 2020. And 2 years later, I received all these things that had been stored away at a friend's attic on the East Coast. And I saw them, and I had photographs from my grandmother and objects that were also hers. And I remembered the beautiful fabrics that she used to sew her clothing with. And this piece there was just so many emotions and so much going on that I just had to paint with that emotional palette that was happening. And that's what this piece is all about, is remembering my grandmother, the fabrics that she sewed, and being there at that moment. This piece is called Hidden Histories 2, because one of the things that I did when I was in Latvia was I was trying to make sense out of the histories that I was told as a child, and learning this new information that we had Latvian background, that we had these different origins. And, I was told about some of the things. So this piece is it's still part of Territories Blue, because it does talk about how we don't learn from history, or we should learn from history. And this piece is a little bit more complex because there's a lot of layers to it. You can't actually see all the layers, but I paint in thin layers, and I go over and over and over again. And sometimes it's entirely different colors, and you don't know because they're such thin layers, and I just repaint and paint and paint. And that's what that's about. This is a new piece, and it's not done yet. It's still in its origins. We don't know if those shapes will continue at the end, but that's what I'm doing. There's a playful energy to it. I'm quite happy in this new space. I'm out of the isolation. So that's what this is. To me, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about new life. And even if you get into the cellular level and you're talking about fungi and bacteria, everybody gets along. We have all this life underneath our feet. And I think this is part of new growth, new happiness. And I love where I live, but it's so much nicer to have a studio where I can just close the door. I had a nice studio at home, but this is better for me. And that's what this is about. I think it's all about new life. And again, this is the very beginning of it, so it's a new kid on the block. These are works in progress. This is also still part Territories Blue and Hidden Histories. So there's a lot more layering that'll happen. There's already about 3 layers on this piece. As I said, I paint very lightly, thin layers. So what you can't see is that these colors have changed several times already. And who knows what they'll end up being, but because they're still in progress. But I like where they're going right now. I'm pretty happy with it. And it speaks to the space that I'm in right now. And like the other piece that you just saw, this is a playful piece too, and it's part of the Territories Blue series, Hidden Histories. And you can see this is where I start. It's a very, very, I call it almost a sketch. So this has got maybe 2 or 3 layers on it already, but it'll have a whole lot more when I'm done. But it's playful, it's happy, and actually I might even say it's as far as childlike. Almost like I'm going back to kindergarten. Maybe I am. I'm really having fun with this series. And you can, hey, thanks for joining me. And you can see this is another one of the new pieces, and still playful palette. And I'm so happy that you came to visit. And if you want to know more about my work and you want to know more about me, you can go to jayealison.com, JayeAlison, or you can also do the same thing on singular.com. You can put in my name, Jayealison. And I'm very happy to have visitors. I'm at the Pond Shed behind the Buggy Whip Factory in Southfield, Massachusetts. Thanks for visiting, and come visit me soon.